Welcome to Season 2 of Level With Us, where we'll be taking even deeper dives into the root causes and the intersecting issues of Central Ohio's housing crisis. Whether you're a first-time listener or a follower of the pod, thank you for lending your ears to an effort that is desperate for more attention, more voices, and more action. Everyone is affected by our housing shortage, whether you're a homeowner, a renter, a landlord, or someone experiencing homelessness or housing instability. And all of us have a role to play in fixing it. So here in Season 2, I'm bringing on more experts, community organizers, and leaders that I hope inspire more of you to find out what that role is. Part 2 of my conversation with Tasha Booker is finally here. If you haven't yet, please go back and listen to episode 209 for part 1. Thanks for your patience as I released this episode a bit late. I'm amused to say that for this one, Tasha and I stood firmly on our soapboxes. What follows is a commentary on the brevity of pilot programs like Success Bridge and Healthy Beginnings at Home that get so much initial funding, impact a few hundred people, and then are never scaled up or extended. From there, we make a call to action. As our community faces higher costs of living and our social service sector is threatened and weakened, it falls on us, me, you, our friends, family, neighbors, leaders, to do whatever we can to protect each other. American civil rights activist Marian Wright Edelman famously said, "Service is the rent we pay for being. It is the very purpose of life, and not something you do in your spare time."
This is my 25th year in the nonprofit sector, and I've certainly seen my fair share of really great buzz, lots of money going into programs, and then somehow they just fizzle away and we never talk about them again. I think a couple of things happen, right? I think momentum wanes and we move on very quickly. We also don't like to see, I don't believe as a society we stick with anything for too long. It's like, we get the first couple of years of data and it maybe not be what we want it to be, and it's like, oh, let's move on. This, I told you, wasn't going to work. And oftentimes we don't look at the conditions or set up the conditions for programs to be successful. We build a lot of programs and expect people to come to them, and that's one of the things I love about Homeport is that you really put those resources in the community and you go to where the people are. So I appreciate that. We don't often do that in programs. I also don't think we're in programs for the long haul. Mm-hmm. I think people just get exhausted. I think the best programs are ones that we've studied over a life cycle, whether it's studying a child. When I was at City Year, we were on a 7-year journey, right, from 3rd through 10th grade to really see and track a student and do that study, and what were the conditions that helped them be successful or not, right, and then how do you improve upon those systems. I think we like performative work sometimes. It feels good to feel like going to the meeting or paying for a major study feels like the work, and that's not the work. We also don't often include the very people we're trying to help in the conversation or the design of that pilot, right? Mm-hmm. It's a bunch of do-gooders, well-intentioned folks, experts, who design these pilots without engaging the people, right? Mm-hmm. They're the experts. They are living the that experience. I think, when we think about social movements, Lauren, they always started at the grassroots level. Right. No top-down approach has ever worked in social movements, right? Like it was always people being fed up enough, right, being angry enough to really see programs through. And then funding, the first to go are programs that people don't think are working, even if they don't have the data. I don't think we use data really well to say something's working or not. Mm-hmm. And then I would say lastly, we also try to boil the ocean. Like there are so many people in need. One program can't satisfy them all. And so when you start with a program that's going to serve 1,000 people and realistically you can only serve 200, we have to be honest about that. Mm-hmm. That there are unfortunately some folks who we're not going to be able to serve in this capacity. But then how do we look at a program and say, this was successful here, how do we scale up? And I think we have to focus on how do we scale up what's good and leave the bad.
Yeah. One of the things that I've spoken with Leah about is that what's keeping us from moving forward, what is keeping unhoused people sleeping in doorways in the short north is the fact that we just haven't all joined hands as a community to really say, this is a problem that we are going to solve, and we're all going to do it. We're all going to try and put our hands in, and like, you know, private companies and public entities, everybody, this is like our number one priority for the next 25 years or however long. Like we're just not doing that holistic systemic work, and that's kind of like what these pilot programs are kind of like doing. They're just like boop, and then it'll work for a couple of years for a few people, and then
I think you know, these issues have become so politicized, whether it's you know, housing insecurity, homelessness, you know, education, healthcare. We've politicized them so much, and I think back to when we were at the height of the pandemic, and the amount of freedom communities had to find solutions to the problems, right? There were a lot of the barriers that we see exist now to access to funding or access to resources were all lifted during the pandemic. We had, because it was a collective issue. We were all suffering together. Some suffered a lot more than others, but the reality is that we were all experiencing this pandemic at one time. Rich, poor, and in between, we were all experiencing it, and we were all impacted by it. And I think about how so many communities had band together to help our elderly, to help our kids still learn. Right here in Columbus, several organizations came together and opened up, the city of Columbus opened up rec centers, and City Year, and I Know I Can, and other organizations, communities and schools, etc. They were all working together to help our students stay on track, even through this pandemic, right? We, you know, these young folks through the AmeriCorps program risk, you know, their own health and their own safety to ensure that our kids could still, you know, either graduate on time, get their work turned in on time. And that was, to me, the collective impact we romanticized. Fast forward, we're in 2025, and we're back to business as usual. We're back to arguing about if homelessness is really an issue, or is it my issue? My kids go to a private school, so why am I worried about the kids who go to Whitehall or Reynoldsburg? That's not my problem. You know, our healthcare is intact. That's not my problem. And as long as we individualize the problems, or we make it about that's somebody else's problem, we're going to continue to have these issues. And I think that's another reason why the pilots don't last. It's like, yeah, I mean, it was great, and you know, we don't have that will. I think we do. I think the right people do. I don't often think that the right people are always invited to the conversations when we're making decisions. I see us, you know, I'm probably getting on a soapbox, but I see us select the same people, you know, issue after issue, year after year, to help solve problems. And yet those problems aren't solved. And I look forward to being a part of the new energy, the new ideas, new groups of people coming to tackle the same problems. The problems aren't going anywhere. If anything, they're growing, right? And they're taxing our community. And yet we ask the same people to be a part of those conversations. And I just think we have to diversify that.
Truly. Yeah, there's a elitism to even being a part of the conversation. If you don't have a few letters next to your name, you're not joined in the conversation. Yeah, and we have people arguing about criminalizing homelessness.
Yes.
And, you know, Easton, we just opened phase 2, as you know, and gosh, the Facebook comments were vitriolic.
Oh yeah.
I can't believe my money is going to fund other people.
I know. I can't even get into the comments. I mean, and these are people who, you know, first of all, so I had to move away from social media, particularly during this time of what we're experiencing, because one, it'll make you depressed, right?
Absolutely.
And I want to keep my faith in humanity, and I think sometimes you get on social media and it's like
you get the worst of it.
You get the worst of it, and I need to see the good.
Yeah.
I don't often get to
believe.
see that on social media, so I have to be very careful what I read, what I choose to read. But you're absolutely right, Lauren. Again, I think it goes back to that's not my problem. I worked hard. I've I've worked hard my entire life. I deserve this. I'm entitled to this. I shouldn't have to help anybody else. Let them get it the hard way like I did. And what people don't realize is that you don't know if your suburban neighbor is sitting over there hungry, right? Like poverty is expanding, particularly as we see inflation goes up. We're seeing wage stagnation. We're seeing people making really tough choices. I mean, I'm okay. I'm comfortable. I do okay. But even I am questioning when I go to the grocery store, do we really need something? Because of the cost. And so that can happen to anyone. All it takes is one illness, right? It takes one pandemic. So many people had played by the rules. Yeah, they played by the rules, and they were impacted. There were supposed to be recession-proof jobs, and they were laid off. You had physicians and nurses who were laid off because they were deemed non-essential during a pandemic. Imagine what that does to someone's income. Right. So it's not just somebody was lazy and they didn't get up and go, and now I have to pay for it, right? Like, that's just not how, life works. And so I really struggle when I see that, when I see people not look at a child, innocent, and see someone hurting and someone in need and say that that's not my problem. Now, I'm not saying you have to help everyone. But when I see people do that, I want to ask, what are you doing, right? What part or what role are you taking?
Yeah.
It's the story of the starfish and the little girl on the beach was walking on the beach, and she would pick up a starfish and throw it back in the ocean, and she just kept doing it up and down the ocean, up and down the beach, and she's throwing a starfish, and they're like, someone asked her, why are you doing that? You're never going to be able to throw all of the starfish back in the ocean. She said, but you know what? I helped just this one. Right?
Yeah.
Just this one. And so when people make those type of comments, like, Monday morning quarterbacking, right? Like I call it cheap seats. If you're not helping, you're in the way.
Yeah.
Or if
you're
not doing a part,
inject negativity into the world.
Yes. If that's not your, and I recognize, like, look, being benevolent and being in the nonprofit space is not for everyone. But I do think people can do their share, whether it's in their local community or their church or, whatever groups they belong to. There's a way to be impactful. But I really struggle, to connect with people who only have something negative to say and point out all the problems and offer no solutions.
I want to ask, okay, so you're fine. And you got fine all by yourself. There was nobody ever along the way that helped you.
There's a lot of that thinking.
Doing your part, that is the cost of living in a society. And if you want to do it all on your own, go live off on a mountain somewhere. But you choose to live in a society, and your contribution to that is funding our schools and being a neighbor. And just because your house didn't catch on fire doesn't mean you shouldn't be using your tax dollars to fund the fire department.
Fire department. Or you pay into insurance. Yeah. Most of us will never have to have an insurance claim. Right. But you pay for it because you're going to need it at some point. And that's how I feel about the community. Like you have to make deposits into. You just never know when you might be needing it. But something you just said, Marian Wright Edelman said, is service is the rent we pay for living here on earth. Yeah, it is. And I'm no one saying that you have to go and run an organization or work for it, but you can there's something, right? If your local school is having a clothing drive or food drive, we get rid of clothes every year. I know I do. I purge. My closet's collapsing from too much weight of the clothes, right? Like, even if it's just donating, or we all go to the Costco and Sam's Club and all of those and buy an extra pack of something and donate it to a food pantry. People are hurting. Yeah. And you just never know when you have to make a withdrawal. Right. Yeah. My perspective and my mindset has been changed through the work that I've done over the last 25 years, right? I have had some major highs in this work and in this space, and also some really low lows that, do make you question humanity. But the one thing that I hold on to is hope. And I know hope is not a strategy, but when you're living through what we're experiencing right now, sometimes that's all you got. Sometimes that is what wakes you up. It's the difference of you laying fetal position in your bed or getting up and starting your day. Yeah.
In almost all the conversations I have with my guests, I finish by asking them, what is missing from the broader conversation? What needs to be said that isn't being said? For this one, Tasha put it plainly, we're missing courage and grit and honesty.
I think Lauren, I'm going to say this, you'll probably edit this, but I think as I get older, my mother used to say, as you get older, you lose your filter to just, you just have to say what needs to be said. And I think sometimes we do a lot of dancing around. We're trying to not hurt feelings, step on toes, be politically correct, all the things. And sometimes we just have to say the darn things. And I don't think we have the honest conversations. For me, it's like, I consider myself very pragmatic. I want someone to be honest with me. I think the work that we do, the risks are too high not to be honest with people. What are the consequences of us not funding education? What are the consequences of us not finding affordable housing? We dance around it too much, right? And I think we just have to be honest. We need to be honest about what it's going to cost. Even if we know it's an astronomical number and it's going to feel like we're boiling the ocean, what's the number? At least we can work towards something. I think that we lead people astray by sugarcoating it, and we want to make certain people feel good, and we don't want to upset elected officials. We don't want to upset the business community. We don't want to upset, it's all these people who we're trying to dance. The people who are doing the work are constantly trying to work around and manage expectations and leaving the ego. And I just think we got to get into a room. We got to have hard conversations. There might be some yelling and screaming. There might be some walking out. There might be some closed doors. But then we come out of this like, we're going to do this darn thing. Yeah. I want to see that level of grit. I want to see, we need to ask for what we need from the people standing up. Standing up. We're the people who chose to do this work. I'm not going to come to work every day and make up a lie. And I think we're living in a society where people are very uncomfortable hearing truths because it might not be their truths. That goes back to that, that's not my experience. So because it's not their experience, it's not true. Yeah. And I think that's why hearing directly from more of the people. Stop holding sessions where we're asking people to come to them. I'm like, let's take it to the streets. Let's take it to the streets.
Yeah, I love that. I agree.
Yeah.
If you're wondering how to pay the rent of service, Homeport is now running our Giving Tuesday campaign. As we've said, our social welfare infrastructure needs help. What limited resources were available continue to deplete, all while the cost of everything continues to increase. This causes instability for families already living on the edge. If you go to homeportohio.org/give, you can support children and senior programs that supply winter clothing, food, and age-specific services. Homeport has spent the last nearly 40 years caring for those who make the least. As our economic and political environment changes, we're asking for you to help us continue doing that work. Anything you give toward Homeport now will support our children and senior programs, ensuring they remain housed and comfortable throughout the winter season. If you're strapped, we get it. We have volunteer opportunities too. If you go to homeportohio.org/volunteer, you can join us for produce distribution. This takes about an hour or so of the day. We just package up bags of groceries for residents and hand them out on site. It's a really great, fulfilling experience. We've also hosted a number of company teams who have come to our communities for beautification days, planting gardens, freshening up the paint, and doing small fixes, which truly brightens up our communities and just lets them know that they're cared for. Just know that you are needed, and whatever you offer is truly appreciated. Homeport is thankful for you just for being a supporter and for listening to this pod. Take care. Level With Us is brought to you by Homeport and is recorded, mixed, and edited by Lauren Sega. All sources are in the show notes. Homeport creates strong communities by developing quality, affordable homes on a cornerstone of dignity, security, and opportunity. To learn more, or if you'd like to support our mission, visit us at homeportohio.org.